Hello there, Angry Welshman back again. Now, you know what type of channel I am. You know, I'm no mathematician, I'm no scientist, but I just use simple common sense and common knowledge and so on and so forth to figure out, what I'm looking at. And and I'm honest, and you know me, is that I will quite happily be corrected. I take criticism well. If I say something wrong, you spam that comment section. If I've said something wrong, you do it, right? But Nathan Oakley is just one of these people. I don't tend to touch on him too much because mainly the guy's, well, he's quite clearly a psychopath, and he is mentally unstable. And if you really want to show that, if you really want to have any proof of this, just go on some of his debates. Well, they're not debates, they're essentially 2-hour shouting matches that literally fucking go nowhere. And it's quite funny that he calls them debates. They're not debates. He brings one person on who is then immediately outnumbered and then just essentially disagrees with him because Nathan has that sort of logic where I disagree, so therefore you're wrong. I disagree, so therefore I've debunked you. And just shouts at him, screams at him, gets all the other people to laugh at them, and then essentially the guy that he's brought on essentially just has to rage quit because you can't get anywhere. And Nathan has the barefaced cheek to call like Simon Dan and other people's channels echo chambers and vacuum chambers, all this kind of stuff. Even though Simon Dan, did I say Nathan Oakley? Or was that whatever? I say. But even though, he has the cheek to call Simon Dan's channel a echo chamber, Simon Dan will quite happily go onto other people's channels and, do some sort of debate or hangouts. He reads people's tweets. He doesn't block anyone. He doesn't do any of that. Nathan Oakley, on the other hand, just won't go out of his comfort zone. He won't leave his channel because he knows if he does, he gets his ass handed to him every single time. Now, he talks about like this geometric horizon, the quote-unquote black swan, right? Conspiracy Cats completely ruined him on the concept of the term diffraction. And it actually turned out that he actually had no idea what diffraction actually was. He essentially found the word, thought it was the opposite of refraction, and essentially just went with it. This is as far as I can tell. He just literally just completely collapsed on his friend's Sleeping Warriors channel by Conspiracy Cats. Conspiracy Cats completely ruined him, right? But he's still come. Like I said, I'm going to put his name in this title because he's going to come on to this video and go, "Oh, thanks for the advert," which I don't understand. It's an advertisement for stupidity, my good friend, right? Now, what I don't understand with his logic with this is that, because I'm not going to play it because I'm just going to rage otherwise, is that he talks about, there's definitely no we can't see a geometric horizon, blah, blah, and it's something he couldn't see. But then again, you have no idea with the sort of how the ancients did it, where they would have known about refraction back then, and they would have probably understood it. But then we measured, right? Our geometric horizon, regardless if we can't visually see it that well, thanks to refraction, the geometric horizon gives us a baseline to work from. It gives us a baseline to make measurements from. So basically, our geometric mathematics and measurements and our geometric horizon gives us a baseline to work from. Then when we add the amount, and when we add all the information from refraction and so forth, and perspective and distance, we then add those to geometric horizon and figure out how far we're seeing. And it's amazing how well they seem to work out, isn't it, Nathan? That's what I don't understand. How does essentially describing or proving that we can't see visually because refraction moves it, the geometric horizon, how does that prove the Earth is flat? That's complete, I'm lost on that. Right? And the simple fact of the matter is, the fact that it is a geometric horizon, the fact that everything is the way, the fact that Earth curves down means that everything on the horizon line is at the same height. Which is why distances to horizons and what we see is so consistent. If it was flat, then everything would be just completely different. Basically, you look to the left, something that's 20 miles away might appear 10 miles closer. Look to the right, something might appear 20 miles further away. It's just how it would work. This is what I don't understand. Like he mentions here, right, the Earth is obviously, it's not though, measurably, it's not though, because your black swan doesn't cover that, observably. No, it's not. It really isn't. And if you factor in other observations as the stars and the planets and all the other kind of parts of astronomy, things that people like you conveniently ignore because you know that you have no bloody leg to stand on, prove that the Earth's a globe. It just does. Right? And the fact that, what you need to understand with this black swan is what Simon Dine pointed out. Look how much refraction's going on in this. Look how much refraction is going on. I mean, it's lowering this crane segment here by practically probably like, what, 20, 30 feet? Then you probably need to understand on where this is. Now, I mentioned this, I was going to mention this to another one. Would your observations to the horizon be different if the area was at high tide or low tide? Because remember, some bays, like let's say if you looked off at a certain place, some places have tides that are possibly, 30, 40 feet. Now, would that affect the distance to the horizon? And then coupled with refraction, if you get my point. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention here quickly is that Nathan likes to champion again is the second law of thermodynamics. And again, it's something that he champions, even though a fair few years ago he did champion gyroscopes. Right? Nathan and his channel championed gyroscopes for bloody years. Then someone basically had a very sensitive gyroscope, like we'd all been saying, picked up the 15-degree-per-hour drift, and what do you know? Nathan dropped it like yesterday's leftovers. He then came up with a bullshit, well, it's not scientific, even though it was something that you championed that we should be seeing for bloody almost about 2 years. And then you dropped it. It's quite weird, that, isn't it? Quite convenient, isn't it? Right? But let's go on to second law of thermodynamics. Nathan, along with many other flat earthers, seem to think that the second law of thermodynamics is about literally the transfer and the movement of physical matter. But, and if I've got this correctly, it's got nothing to do with the transfer and movement of actual physical matter. It's more about the transferring of energy. Thermodynamics, energy. The clue's in the name, for fuck's sake. Right? And if you actually do understand proper physics and you study it as a lifelong career and passion, you would understand that gas pressure doesn't need a container at all. And like I've mentioned many times in this channel, why don't you seem to actually grasp the concept, Nathan, that atmospheric pressure, or let's just go with, let's say gas pressure for now, because you seem to don't like the concept atmospheric because it's got the word sphere in it, right? But I'm going to keep on saying it anyway. How come atmospheric pressure gets less and less and less, right, with altitude until there is no pressure at all, i.e. a bloody vacuum? How hard is that to understand? And please explain that then, if gas is meant to actually fill the container. Please explain why, if the Earth was flat and it filled the container, essentially air pressure would differentiate from left to right, so just up and down. But it's incredibly consistent at altitudes. It's always the same everywhere, depending on the altitude. Air pressure, atmospheric pressure is the same at sea level pretty much all over the entire world. Depending probably if you're at the North Pole or the equator or so on and so forth. Because, of the oblate spheroidness of the Earth and all this, so on and so forth. But like I said, that's only about 0.2%. But, so by your logic, an aerosol can, so let's say a Lynx can, spray can, would be high pressure at the bottom and nothing at the top. But that's not possible because the aerosol can would collapse on itself. Please explain this to me. Right? I'm sick to death of this Black Swan, which has been completely destroyed. But obviously, because Nathan doesn't like to leave his channel very often, he just likes to pretend that the outside world doesn't exist. You know what I mean? So there's my little rant for the day. I just need it. It was flowing quite nicely, so I thought I'd bring it out. So I thought I'll do a chunk because I haven't done a video in a bit, but hopefully I can come up with something more constructive at some point. Adam, aka Level Earth Observer, hasn't really brought out anything new lately. I mean, his Mars ones lately have been so cringeworthy. I can't even bring myself. I did that little bit at the end for Where's Wally, but that was about it. Right, so that's me done. That's my rant done. So, if anyone else got any videos down the bottom, please link me to a video below, and I'll see and I can have a look at it over the next week or so. So, hope to see you all again soon. Keep safe, and good afternoon.